So I wanted to do hopefully a short video discussing the events of the past couple of days. And before I do that, let me just preface it by saying that the book launches and events over the past couple of days have been absolutely mind-blowing for me. Literally hundreds of you came out to the three events, including the book signing at Indigo downtown in Montreal. And to be honest, I thought I was going to be sitting at a table with, tumbleweed rolling by and crickets and people walking by me going, who's that guy sitting at the table just, killing time. But for 2.5 hours, I was nonstop, busy, greeting, appreciating, being so grateful that you guys came out and supported me. The book is now out there into the world. A Year in the Light, Daily Spiritual Life Hacks, Intentions, and Reminders, and I'm incredibly proud of it, and I love the feedback I'm getting from everybody, so thank you. So, with that said, the attacks in Paris that happened on Friday night, I'll basically tell you what I have been telling class yesterday, and what I've been discussing at the book launches. I named this book A Year in the Light because I believe that at the end of it all, everything we do and say and think, how we show up in the world, how we operate, falls into one of two categories. It falls closer to darkness or closer to light. And there's a very thin line that separates them. They are, two sides of the same coin, if you will. And when one is present, the other is available. We just have to direct our mind towards it. And the way I see it, what has happened with this latest terrorist attack in Paris, and don't get me wrong, terrorist attacks are happening in more countries than we would care to pay attention to. But because this one has happened in a relatively industrialized, civilized, quote-unquote, place on Earth, we react much more viscerally to it than we do when it happens in Iraq or in Africa or whatever. But with that said, when something like this happens, it is, I believe, it is like a small eruption of darkness, concentrated darkness. And when there are moments of concentrated darkness that erupt, I believe that it is up to us to meet that darkness with light. And what does that mean? It means that we come together as community, in solidarity, collaborating, cooperating, united. And the thing that I find fascinating about, specifically terrorist attacks, but any disaster, natural or man-made, is that when these things happen, we don't, when someone is stumbling out of a bar or a restaurant, covered in blood, injured or whatever, somebody who's walking on the street doesn't stop and say to them, oh, hang on a second, let me just find out what religion you are before I extend my hand out to help you. When things like this happen, all the details that we typically obsess over and that politicians use to divide us and that we base our opinions and judgments of others on, all that stuff falls away. All the stupid falls away. And trust me, we live in a moment of stupid where we judge each other based on, hair color. We judge each other based on religion. We judge each other based on how we choose to love. Which God we choose to love, which person we choose to love. Sorry, that's my screen darkening in front of me. We are wasting our time. When we focus on the stuff that separates us, we are wasting our time. And if anything teaches us anything from these terrorist attacks, let it be that that stuff doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. When all the chips fall, when all of our security gets yanked out from under us, by nature, we reach out for the other. By nature, we extend a hand. If somebody is under a pile of rubble, when you see a hand, simply a hand, just a hand, sticking out of those rocks, you're not sitting there going, I'm sorry, let me just judge the skin color of that hand before I, reach out, take it, and pull them to safety. These are moments for us to rise up. These are moments for us to be in light. These are moments for us to extend our sympathies and to extend our love and to extend our time and our energy to those who are suffering. I know what it is like to lose someone in a terrorist attack. I know what it is like to wait and to wait and to wait for something, for a phone call, for someone to say, oh, I saw that person. I know what it's like. I've lived it, and it's hell, and my heart is ripping, shredding for the people who are going through it right now in France and all over the world where these attacks are happening. But we have got to be very careful how we react to what's going on, because if we start posting social media posts, replete with curse words and replete with judgment and replete with finger pointing and blame, then all we're doing is perpetuating the cycle of hate. And that cycle begets, it is self-perpetuating. Hate begets hate. Stupid begets stupid. Judgment begets judgment. And so, if terrorists want to drop a little moment of crazy, ultimately what they want to do is more than just drop it. They want us to perpetuate it, and they know that we will, through our judgment of them. And through our judgment of them, that feeds governments to create foreign policies that then create more attacks. So we have to be very aware of how we react to what's going on. And there are going to be people who are, don't like what I say. And if you don't like what I say, turn me off. Don't listen to me. I don't care. This is what I believe I'm meant to do. And this is how I'm meant to do it. And we have got to stand up and take a little bit more accountability and responsibility for how we treat each other every single day, so that we can learn to not wait for natural or man-made disasters to jog us into clarity, to jog us into presence. When these things happen, there are opportunities for us to take stock in our blessings, in what we are actually here to do, what our purpose on earth is, and how we are meant to affect each other. We are meant to stay in action and not reaction. We are meant to analyze how the sensations land in the body associated to the trauma that has happened somewhere around the world but that yet affects us. We are meant to analyze the energy that we embody, because that energy is going to come out. And typically, the more chaotic the energy, the more it's going to come out. And it will come out as erratic behavior or illness. That's it. And right now we're seeing a lot of erratic behavior. And if terrorism is erratic behavior, then why would we continue to behave erratically and perpetuate terrorism? Let your reaction to what has happened in France and Kenya and Iraq and all over the world, I could go on and on and on, but let your reaction be one of compassion. Understand that what these terrorists have done, and let me just preface this by saying I'm not condoning anything that anybody has done, trust me. But what these terrorists have done, I believe, is simply the outward manifestation of living a life of constant tension, of constant hate, of being so far from community that is loving, really loving, that is supportive, that is nurturing. I believe that this is the outward manifestation of a life lived in darkness, of a life lived further away from hope and connection to something true. And understand that when we go into criticism and judgment and blame and finger pointing and all of that stuff, we are going into that side of things, into the darkness side of things. And we have a choice as to whether we do that or not. That takes presence, it takes mindfulness, but it is a choice. I believe that the actions that result in this kind of chaos, any one of us is capable of going there. If we are pushed, if we are deprived of love and community and connection and all the things that we need to thrive, any one of us is capable of going there. And so before we pass judgment on what is happening out there, we have got to start to analyze what is happening in here. And that starts with seeing how we are treating other people, how we are judging, how we, in some way, are traumatizing or terrorizing or doing anything that contributes to darkness or separation or division, however you want to call it. So, with all that said, and I know I'm running longer than the short post that I wanted to put up, but with that said, let me just say that I believe that when terrorist attacks happen, they do the opposite of what the intention is. I think that instead of instilling fear, they remind us of love. They remind us of how we are stronger together. And if you want to see how that manifests, open the news. Right now, as I'm saying this, there are thousands of people in downtown Montreal in front of the French embassy in solidarity. And this is happening all over the world. And so let's not wait until things like this happen to come together. Let's not wait for things like this to happen to drop our judgment and to drop the criticism and to drop the prejudices we have based on somebody else's skin color or religion or spiritual belief or who they love. Let's live every single day in light. And let these moments of awakening, which is what these attacks are, let them be that. Let them be a reminder. Let them be an opportunity for us to rise, taller than we ever have been, brighter than we ever have been, and to just channel light to those who believe that the darkness is stronger than the light. And we will all get there at some point. For the time being, I believe it's our responsibility to be light bearers. So let's go out there and shed light.